Okay, so we tiptoed around it a couple of times, and one AB flat out mentioned it. Hong Kong decision on the OIC comes out on Monday. So for those who don't know, you have been involved in that battle for the last several years. Now, your application is tied to the CCFRs. That's right, isn't it?
No,
It's not.
no.
Oh, I always thought it was.
There are, I think there's 3, maybe 4 lawsuits.
Okay.
Our group is being headed by the Burlington Rifle and Revolver Club,
Okay.
and it is a more narrow challenge. Our court team is Supreme Advocacy out of Ottawa, and they specialize in Supreme Court cases. Being as this started at federal court, there's one step, and it doesn't really matter what the decision is on Monday, because if they come out in favor of owners, well, I shouldn't say that. If they come out in favor of owners, the government could just say, yeah, okay, because they have C-21, which is an actual legislation, which encompasses everything sitting in the Senate. Mm-hmm. So for 3 months, everything would kind of be turned loose, and then everything would get clamped down again. Yeah. The prohibition on import wouldn't change because that came through external affairs. It was not a part of justice. So it has nothing to do with the criminal code or any law in Canada. That was an order from I think it was Jolie at the time, who was the Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Trade. And that's the office that controls import and export. Okay. It has nothing to do with Justice, Solicitor General, Ministry of Defense, anything. Import-export is purely controlled by Foreign Affairs and International Trade. And they run, and it's an opinion call whether you agree with it or not, but they run completely independent of the law, because anything that they're affecting that is being imported isn't in Canada. So they just decide it can never get here.
Yeah. Yeah. So the decision that everybody is talking about coming down on Monday, that's just the CCFR's case, correct?
No, they're all being held together. So
they are all. Oh, that's why I thought yours was tied into their application.
Oh, well, they have, the justice has heard them all together.
Okay.
So if she hands, and I don't know, in this, now you're out of my depth.
Yeah.
But they could now. I've provided expert testimony to all the other cases, so I am involved with CCFR from that perspective, and they have been. Oh, I mean, hey, they have been freaking rock stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. What they've done and what they've put through, and how much they've dug into their pockets and made things go. Amazing people. Yeah, Tracy, Rod, and the team over at CCFR, fantastic people. I hope everybody supports them. Because they deserve it for nothing more than having done that. They picked up a lot of the loose ends for businesses who don't really have a supporting organization right now, and they've done a great job. So yeah, 100% go CCFR.
Yeah.
But I think no matter what happens on Monday, if we lose, we'll be appealing. That goes without saying. Everybody's been ready for that. But excuse me. If the government loses, it'll be one of two things. They'll either appeal, and they're appealing with our money, so why wouldn't they be?
Yeah. Why not?
I would assume it's foregone that they would appeal.
Again, the thing is, they're sitting on an actual law change which incorporates the vast overwhelming majority of what the lawsuit is about, which is the OIC, in the tail ends of C-21. So, but that's if they don't want to.
That's an interesting thing that I wonder if you have more insight into this, and if you don't, it's totally fine. I get that you're not a lawyer, but you are much more in the loop and in the know than I am, and God knows you've been around for a lot more years than me, Phil. But here was my thought on this whole thing, that they're introducing this legislation that's really would kind of supersede the order in council anyway. But it seems to me that the argument that's being made has a lot less to do with
incorporates the order in council. It doesn't supersede.
right.
It incorporates.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair point. Fair point.
Codifies it in law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but if hypothetically a judge were to decide that the prohibition of these things, regardless whether it's by order in council or not, just the prohibition of these things without the proof that it is justified, would be a violation of Canadians' property rights. If that were to happen, then that would open the door. If they all of a sudden pass this legislation after that ruling, wouldn't that open the door for more lawsuits that of passing a law that would violate charter rights?
Well, it would arguably violate the division of powers under the Constitution, right? Where property goes to the provinces. But
yeah, okay.
Because the criminal code makes all firearms ownership illegal. You cannot own a gun legally in Canada. Every gun that you have, you own illegally. Except the government allows you to possess them as long as you have a possession and acquisition license, which they give you.
Yeah. It's essentially an exemption certificate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a temporary exemption.
So am I to take you bringing that up to mean that you don't think that it's likely that a court is going to decide that these are inherently are legal property or legal property?
Yeah, but remember, that goes back to the Alberta Challenge in 1995.
Okay. I was only 15 then. I was too busy chasing girls in high school to pay attention to that one.
Well, if you quit chasing girls, or at least looking, then I'm gonna have to have words with you. Well, in '95, the government of Alberta, then government of Ontario, when it had a set of nuts, and several other provinces, Saskatchewan, I think Manitoba was in on it. They challenged the gun registry based on the fact that it was regulating property, and the decision from the Supreme Court, which wasn't a write home about it, call your professor because this is a great piece of jurisprudence thing. Mm-hmm. But it came down that because the basic item was illegal, it was no longer regulatable as property because it wasn't property when you couldn't legally own it.
Oh,
and that's, no. There's 300 pages of decision in a paragraph.
Right.
And you can get there's Rumble or Ed. There's a dozen guys on here who could give you a better dissertation on the ins and outs of it. But that's kind of the 25-word précis.